Hey guys, it's Drew again. I wanted to shoot a quick video and just kind of touch on something I've noticed recently in different videos I've heard of collectors and different YouTubers, especially guys that are kind of newer. And I don't think this is something that's a new thought. It's just something that's sort of been in my conscious lately, and I just wanted to address it. And in doing so, I wanted to tell a little bit of a story. I wanted to tell a story about a card, a specific card, and why. So a little background on this. I want to talk about the first card that I ever purchased online. And this was back probably around 2001, so a little more than 20 years ago. And I, at that point, had zero vintage, nothing at all. The oldest card I probably had was from the mid 80s or something. I really didn't have much exposure to cards, but I've always been a history fan, and a baseball history fan especially. And I loved reading about the old players and what they did and their feats. And I could tell you every World Series winner and loser. I still can probably from now all the way back to 2000 or 1901. And it was just something I've always loved and studied in statistics. And one of the statistics that I really, really loved, and it's often quoted, is about the great Stan Musial. And Stan Musial, he had 3,630 hits in his career, and half of them were on the road and half of them were at home. And I always thought that was such a quirky little thing. It's not like he planned it out, but it was always something my dad said, the model of consistency, Stan Musial, he could do it home and away. And, I never saw Musial play. I mean, he retired years before I was even born. And, but I always thought, I was always intrigued by this number and this stuff. And so when I first found eBay and first found that you could buy cards online, I wanted a Stan Musial card. I didn't know anything about vintage cards whatsoever. I couldn't tell you a 1966 card from a 1956 card. I didn't know any of them. I just knew they were all old, and I knew that they were all vintage, and I knew that I could never afford them because when I looked at Beckett, they were hundreds of dollars, and I'm trying to get an $8 Griffey or something at that point in time. But anyway, so what I did was I went online and I found an auction and I won the auction. I didn't know anything about condition. I don't know how much I paid for this card. I just know that this was the very first card that I ever purchased online, and it is a 1962 Stan Musial. And this is the exact card that I had. And as you can see, there's a crease, there's wear, and there's corners and fuzzy. And the problem is that's the first thing that I told you about it. And the truth is when I saw this card back in 2001, when I opened the box up, and I remember this card was not even in a top loader or a penny sleeve. It was just mailed to me. So I don't even know who I bought it from, but they were as much of a noob about it as I was. But the first thing I noticed was this is a card from Stan Musial. This was a Stan Musial card. I didn't care about the crease. I didn't care about the color loss. I didn't care about the centering. I didn't care about the corner wear. All I knew was this card was older than me, and it pictured Stan Musial on it, and Stan Musial had one of the coolest statistics of all time. And the reason I'm telling you this is not to go back and just have a memory or something, although it is a really cool memory. I want to talk about a statement I've heard a few times, and I don't mean to call anybody out. I'm not trying to put anyone down. I want to use this as an encouragement. But at the point that before I received this card, I had a zero collection of vintage cards. And when I opened this box up, I then had a collection of one. And after that, I got another card and another one and a few more, and I moved on and I bought some and I sold some and I traded some, and I do what you do, and that's called being a collector. But before I had won the auction for that Stan Musial card, I had zero. I had to start somewhere. And there's a lot of new collectors coming into this hobby, or there's a lot of collectors that have been around for a while and they are working back towards vintage stuff. And what I'm hearing them saying is, oh, I'm almost embarrassed to show off my stuff because have you seen so-and-so's collection? Have you seen so-and-so's card? Did you see that they've got the whatever? And you know what? There are always going to be somebody with a bigger and better collection. And I highly respect the dedication, the time, the investment, the work that people like John Mangini, that people like Mike from Baseball Collector have put into their collections. I will never have a collection that equals or compares to what theirs is right now. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with that. You know why? Because I have this card, and this card was number one in my collection. This was the first card that I ever owned. I look at it like sports. You know, we're all kind of sports fans or whatever. And what we do is it's like we enter into collecting and we're like in the Pee Wee League and in Little League or something, and we're still on a tee and we're dribbling out a 3 foot hit that we're going to get a home run because nobody knows how to pick it up and play it. And what we're doing is we're looking at Aaron Judge hit 62 home runs and say, man, I can't do that. You can't do that. But you know what? There was at some point in time when Aaron Judge was dribbling, okay, maybe a 4 foot hit off of the tee and getting a home run because nobody could field. But the point is that everybody had to start somewhere. This was my starting point. So I want to encourage you guys to not worry about what other people have. And I'm not sensing jealousy. I'm not at all. What I'm saying is it's a journey, and that is what you are collecting. You are not collecting cards. You are collecting stories. You're collecting memories. You're collecting experiences. So many people I've talked to off of line from YouTube have talked about how great this community is. I've mentioned it multiple times. I've met almost none of you in person, but I have such great relationships with so many people that I have met through YouTube. And that is part of my collecting experience, and it's part of your collecting experience. So I want to encourage you guys, really, don't worry about my collection is bad. Show off your card. If it's a 1962 creased Stan Musial, or if it's a common from 1973 that you just happen to find somewhere, show it off. You know why? Because that could be your card number one, and I just want to encourage you that your collection will always grow. It can always get better. It can always think. But love the cards, love the hobby, and love the people around it. And other than that, you guys have a Merry Christmas, and you be good.